in
their
some
trick.
parts of it.
They use the Journal Times. The Journal Times is just like cat milk, you know. They just lap it up, and there's no investigation, and that's how they do it. Tell them a falsehood, and they just print it as the truth, and then they get by this, and they get the council members who don't investigate anything. You know, they go along with it,
Yeah.
and that's why you get in a situation we're in. We didn't get here by accident.
Well, here we are again, back to talking Racine. Welcome. Happy Monday morning. We got Mr. Ken Lumpkin here, former county board supervisor and supervisor board candidate.
Yes.
Mr. Jim Spodek, chief researcher and producer of the show, and I'm Dr. Ken Jorgen, your host. And this morning, I keep getting that time thing screwed up with broadcasting in the morning. So this morning we're going to be talking about Machinery Row once again. I think we're getting close to the end here, and we're going to wrap this all up in a nice little package for everybody to come and see. That's going to be on February 17th. That's from from 10 a.m. to noon at the Great Lakes Room at Gateway Technical College. We're going to have a live taping of the show. We want you there to be in the audience and to listen to the presentation. We want to get this thing all put together in an understandable way so that you can carry it out into the community and discuss it with your friends and relatives. So tonight we're going to be talking about the players on Machinery Row. There's a limited number of people who were involved in this project, and a lot of the other development of projects that went around town that never really went anywhere, just like Machinery Row is not going anywhere. We've got people like our current mayor, Corey Mason, the former mayor, John Dickert, of course, Tom Friedel, who was the city administrator back in those days. A company called Vanderwall and Associates, who put together the big plan for all of the redevelopment projects that are projected to go on in Racine, none of which have taken place yet, but I mean they have a big beautiful plan that was formulated back in, was it 2012 that they?
Yeah, the Rootworks plan came out in 2012.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this goes back quite a ways, all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And of course there's a couple other people. Monte Osterman, we're going to cover Monte Osterman, County Board Supervisor, who has been very involved in these projects. And Gita Jensen, too, is going to get a little mention. She's one of the people who own property down there at Machinery Row. And her circumstances are a little bit different than the rest of the people who were property owners and who got relocated out of that place. So, and Eddie Deal, former city council member. Eddie Deal was one of the first people to actually raise objections to some of the things that was going on with the Machinery Row and asking questions about, well, what's this all about and where's this money going and why is this being done? And so he was an early voice in opposition to Machinery Row, or at least questioning it. So I'm going to turn a lot of this substantially over to you, Jim, because you did an awful lot of research. And we'll just kind of...
Yeah, well, we can just kind of fill in, but a lot of it's fairly simple. But originally, back in 2008, they had, before the Rootworks plan, it was back to the root, and that was in July of 2008. That plan came out. Now, that was chaired by Corey Mason at that time. He also was on the Redevelopment Authority in that period of time. He actually was on the RDA from 2005 to 2011. So a lot of this is Corey Mason's doing, being a legislator and able to work within a group of people to kind of work on the river and try to redevelop that whole river area. 2012, he introduces, of course, John Dickert now becomes mayor in 2009. In 2011, Corey introduces Dickert to Vanderwall and Associates out of Madison, who is the developer of these projects all over the state, Iowa.
Well, they're kind of like project designers, aren't they? Are they actual developers?
No, they're actually designers.
Yeah,
they design the plan, and then they...
Well, he had gotten familiar with them with his time up in Madison, and he decided to introduce them to Dickert.
Of course, then some of those plans that Vanderwall did was in Iowa and Rodney Blackwell. That's how Rodney Blackwell was introduced to Racine. Rodney didn't just drive through and say, "Boy, I want to develop here." You know, it's like, you know, he was. This was a kind of spearheaded to do a development. One of the things, though, that we can kind of elaborate on is if you look at the campaign finance reports. Now we go back to 2008, so the River Alliance of Wisconsin was involved. There were quite a few different groups that got involved. They also were able to be fairly large donors to Corey Mason's campaign running for mayor. So when John Dickert leaves, who was on the coastal management, to go to coastal management, which Corey Mason was on, it's almost like they switched roles. They went from the Great Lakes groups. John Dickert moved in there. Corey Mason moved into the mayor of Racine.
Well, so, I got a question. Is Great Lakes Legislative Caucus, is that the same thing as the Great Lakes St. Lawrence cities?
No, I believe there's
consortium?
There's some different ones involved, but they all kind
of... A lot of the same players moving back and forth?
Right. So, and of course all the money that kind of, moves with that.
Yeah, well, Vanderwall and Associates got, for varying contracts in Racine, and to really formulate the big plan here, the Economic Development Project Opportunities, which is the project report here, for various things that they have done in design work, etc., they've netted about $400,000 in contracts from the city of Racine. Is that right?
Right. So of course you're going to make, who's going to, the hand that feeds you, you're going to butter their bread a little bit, because that's what they did, so they actually gave those.
Yeah, they were they contributed the maximum amount to Corey for his mayoral campaign.
Same with the River Alliance.
Yeah.
One of the things, though, that, we'll get back to we'll dig into this a little bit here, but I just want to lay the foreground. Now, this is back now in 2012. Machinery Row was announced in June of 2014. We go back to 2012. Actually, we go down to March of 2012. There's a email between Vanderwall and another associate in it, and it said to pick up the floor plans and Phase 2 docks from Rick Olson. Rick Olson was also one of the owners of two different sets of properties. One was in Phase 1, one was in Phase 2. Phase 2 was the set of properties that the citizens all heard, well, he's not going to sell that other building unless he sells new. This is back in March of 2012 to pick up the docks for Phase 2. So this was way, way before any announcement. This was all being formulated ahead of time.
So that was in 2012. Now he had the fish farm down there. He had the racetrack for the motocross.
Right. He had lease space.
Yeah, he had tenants down there that he was leasing to, et cetera, et cetera. So he was a big player down there.
He was. Yeah, he was.
Okay.
But one of the things I think that really was amiss here is Jensen Metal Products, who was owner of the 820 Water Street building, which was in the Phase 1 of the Machinery Row, one of the big ones where the baseball guys were renting the third floor, or, in that space. Scott Walker had allocated $150,000 in tax credits for Jensen Metals to put in 39 jobs in a 7,000 square foot building. So she was going to expand Jensen Metal Products to that location in the Machinery Row area and put in a facility, a metal facility in her building, and adds 39 jobs. Now that was granted May 14th, 2012. Again, this is roughly 2 years before the announcement of Machinery Row. Interesting to know what happened there. Where's that? I know they eventually added on to their building in Franksville, but the fact was, and we always talk about it, George talks about it, those buildings have a useful purpose, and if you let the economy and let the economy work, you're going to fill those buildings. There could have been jobs there, 39 jobs. They talk about, we need jobs. Here you had 39 jobs, and for whatever reason and how this died, this went to the wayside. And then she sells the building 2 years later for $1,900,000. It was assessed at $1,050,000.
Well, she got that grant in 2012, but they were already talking prior to that about this whole development project. Isn't that correct?
Right. So
sounds a little strange.
Well, I obviously she was running a business. She's going to run the business. She needs to expand. This was an opportunity in a building that they owned,
right,
to expand. So that's one. Now that's an early. What I'm trying to do is give a base of where we're coming from here.
Right.
This is all before Machinery Row, and all this was going on. So you had all the players in place. One of the other ones, and here, Ken, we can go into Monte Osterman, who was, I got to follow on the Root River Council. Now, this was another group that was tied to back to the Root, and Root Works, very instrumental in organizing these plans and putting things together. He was originally downtown with a granite business. He then moved out to Highway 20, but in April 8th of 2010, he moves back to downtown Racine, opens up a storefront, and then he rents a building at 1251 Mound Avenue. Mound Avenue was just over the top of Phase 1 of Machinery Row.
That's in between 6th Street and State Street. That Mound Avenue runs kind of like on a diagonal there.
Correct.
And goes over and intersects with Memorial and State.
Correct. Now, do a little digging. We go back to page 28 of the Back to the Route. It talks about a walkway and a river a bike trail that's going to go along this area here.
Mm-hmm.
That's in 2008, which he would have had privy to that information. He then...
Well, he was the chairman of Root Works, right?
Not Root Works. He was chairman of Root
River Council, right? Okay.
Along with a more board member, Marty DeFati, the broker.
Okay.
2010, he moves his business back, puts his business in, or at least part of his business on Mound Avenue. 2014, they've initiated the fact that they're going for a grant to take and put the bike path in, and they're going to get $240,000 from Knowles Nelson Grant again. We're familiar with those, and they're going to get a matching amount of money, a certain amount from the city to match this to buy those buildings and relocate those tenants.
Well, we know how they handle relocation. I mean,
right.
Did they do that to Monte Osterman too?
Monte Osterman.
Did they leave him hanging out there?
No, Monte Osterman was with kit gloves. He was handled correctly. Matter of fact, none of that information was ever brought to the Common Council or anything. That was information that was just, it was kind of like done within the city development department, and it was just handled, and it was a different company that they've put in place now to handle the guys or the tenants of Machinery Row.
How much stuff did he have down there to actually move? It wasn't that much, was it?
No.
I've heard, you know, from people that it was like a few slabs of marble and a
cutting machine. Yeah, there was some things, but there was not anywhere near this amount of product or goods.
It was not anywhere near the volume of equipment or the value of equipment that Patrick Fagan had to move down to Kenosha on his own.
Right.
I mean, he had like
close
8 semi-trailers full of stuff, at least.
Right.
Now, did he buy 8 and lease 8, or was it he bought 4 and leased 4?
Something like that. Yeah, he bought and leased.
But, you know, several, at the very least, 8 semi-trucks full of equipment that he had to move on his own. And how much has he gotten in compensation? Nothing.
Matter of fact, now it's a lawsuit. You know.
Yeah.
So, but
and that was all supposed to be done.
Well, I'm up of 75,000. You know, that's at least initially that's what we've uncovered. There may be more. I don't know.
You had moving expenses plus rent compensation for
a number of years.
A number of years, yeah.
And that project now is defunct, right? That project is a part of the
walkway?
projects the city haven't been able to.
Yeah,
well, no, the walkway is a different phase from Machinery Row. It's all part of this whole Root River development scheme, but it's kind of a separate entity unto itself. So they're probably, I think they've been talking just recently about developing that area into a walkway and a scenic overlook.
Yeah, but what they did is what you're saying is, you know, did they come and buy? They bought all the property, they paid all the tenants and the owners of the property with those dollars, and you know, that's out of the way now. Has the work been completed? No. You know, where that money is, who knows? But the fact is that you had a supervisor, one of your colleagues, set up to basically put himself in a position to benefit from the on his bike ride. Now, you're not going to tell me there was no idea what was happening there. You know,
well, it seems like kind of a stretch to for him to claim that he had no knowledge of that. Since he was the chair of the Root River Council, and the Root River Council was very intimately involved with this development project, and the development project required that the people who were occupying space down there be relocated, and he relocated after the plan was already created.
Correct.
Now, to say that he had no knowledge of the plan, to me, that's kind of a stretch.
Yeah, it's a real stretch.
I suppose it's possible.
Well, it's Racine. He can get away with a lot of this stuff. Now, here I'm going to play. I'm going to play some, and then I'm going to play this, and then we'll come back. Now, this is the March 4th of 2014, and Monte Osterman is asking the Common Council to approve this grant that had come in, and that's a questionable grant, how it was applied for, but that grant came in, and it has to be approved to purchase these properties.
Now, when you say questionable in the way it was applied for, when anyone wants to apply for a grant of that nature through the DNR, they need to go to the City Council. If this is going to happen on city property, they need to go to the City Council and request approval or permission to apply for the grant.
Correct.
That was not done in this case.
That was not done. It's just all of a sudden there's an approved grant, and here it is.
So to kind of simplify it, they requested a grant be approved. Osterman had served as chairman or something.
Root River Council.
Yeah.
Council, and that would be the one that would actually be moving forward the project that would buy the building that he's located in.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, he would get paid monies to move to another location.
Right.
But I'm gonna play this clip. But here's the thing: he comes up there and says, "I am the chairman of the Root River Council." You'll hear it right at the beginning of the clip. But he never ever states that he owned Osterman Granite and Marble. That he also had property when you're on the council. I mean, that's illegal.
What's the term conflict of interest?
Well, that's one of it. I mean, there's a number of things here.
I don't know. It seems like the interests were completely aligned.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to play that.
Okay.
For allowing me time tonight, Monte Osterman, County Board Supervisor and Chair of the Root River Council. You've heard some things tonight about the Rootworks plan and kind of how it started. It started back in 2006 with those conversations. But they weren't just any conversations. They actually led to initiative, they led to something progressive, they led to something happening. What you have here, along this Root River urban corridor, is the single greatest opportunity that we have had ever to create an economic engine in this economy, or even in modern Racine. And it would be a shame to not take advantage of leveraging $1 to get $2 to continue to make the plan a reality. This plan, in its full implementation, will be the largest development ever to occur in Racine. This is how you generate income. This is how you generate business. This is what causes people to want to move here. Developers want to move here because something is happening. They don't just show up. Nobody comes to a dance without music and a band and a stage. You have to build the infrastructure first to allow them to come. It's not new. It's something that we've been doing, something we've been working toward. Corey's been working on it for 8 years now. This is one time when you have an opportunity to work toward the betterment of our community and use the grant dollars to do it with some of our own. It's a great implementation. It's a great leverage. Please support this initiative. Thank you.
So there it is. That's Monte Osterman speaking to the City Council, encouraging them to start the engine of economic development over there on the Root River. And I think the engine at this point is at the very least idling. It's kind of coughing and sputtering a little bit. I think it's got some clogged fuel injectors. And there's some noxious vapors coming out of the tailpipe, if I'm seeing this thing correctly. But that was...
I'm sorry, cut you. That, just listening to him remind me of a clip you did a few episodes ago of the we call them snake doctors, you know.
Oh, snake oil salesman.
Yeah,
yeah.
He had these flattery words that and they always speak of desperation. You know, I'm looking at Racine, and project after projects have failed, and so now they are bringing in people making colorful language, but no developers themselves are coming here saying, I have X amount of dollars I want to spend. What they want to do each time is spend your money, the taxpayers' money.
Right.
You know, to look at their little personal, private projects that they trying to get started.
You know, here, and I'm going to throw it on the screen, but then there is the Racine Equality Project. Tim Elmers files a complaint with the county board, and they're an ethics complaint stating, or actually criminal, it should have been picked up criminal, that he's taking this money. Now, in any other community, they would have definitely investigated this. And I'm going to dump this on you. On Racine County, nothing. Matter of fact, it was June the 25th. He put the complaint in, and it's on the screen. You can go to the link. And on July 9th, they came back with a recommendation. There's nothing wrong here. The ethics board looked at it.
So now you were on the county board at that time. Do you recall any discussion of this whatsoever?
No, I ain't hear nothing of
that. That a complaint had been filed against one of the board members?
No.
You know,
it's almost like, you know, just be quite candid. It's almost like a fraternity out there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're not a part of the fraternity, you never hear what's going on.
Right.
You know, and they kind of, you know, keep it within a certain circle.
First, I got to ask a question. You know, I'm not trying to be mean. Is there a fair amount of intelligence on that board?
Oh yes. But
so they're capable of understanding.
Right. They have their personal goals that's tied in all the way up to the governor's office, and that, if they think you about to be a obstructionist and you're not gonna go along with the deal, you won't never hear of it. You know, I filed a complaint when I was on the county board before of what we call these meetings that was being held away from the county board after the county board met.
So it was a de facto board meeting, but it was only by invitation kind of a thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's where a whole lot of decisions are made.
Mm-hmm.
You know, away from the members that they think might be in opposition. You know, if you're not we call it the good old boy system. If you're not a part of that system, then you're not going to find out or hear about those things that's happening internal. And you're talking about another county board member, so you know they were going to squash that. You know,
yeah.
They've been known for that, and he have a history, in fact, of doing things that will hurt the taxpayers. And
here's where I go.
It stays.
Yeah, I've heard some stories.
Yeah. Now here's the thing though. Aren't any of these county board members, though they have any kind of idea that, hey, you know, maybe I should call this out and say, because what it does to that county board, it weakens them by having a weak member in there that is, you know, doing things that he shouldn't be doing, and they should be calling them out, sanctioning, or, you know, or trying to get them removed. I mean, I just don't understand this mentality that, you know, we're gonna have this club here, and I can do anything I want, and when it comes down to the taxpayer, you know, and Machinery Row is a perfect example of losing millions of dollars on a project, and there's no repercussions anywhere.
Yeah.
And there's no results either. I mean, we don't have anything going on down there, really. I mean, we took what was a viable business community, emptied it, and now they're claiming that the buildings have deteriorated to the point where they need to be demolished, which I think is malarkey.
Oh, it's
you know, there may be some degradation.
That's their
of some
trick.
Parts of it.
They use the Journal Times. The Journal Times is just like cat milk. You know, they just lap it up, and there's no investigation, and so they do it. tell them a falsehood, and they just print it as the truth, and then they get by this, and they get the council members who don't investigate anything. They go along with it, and that's why you get in a situation we're in. We didn't get here by accident.
I mean, we was talking before we started recording. Look at the number of projects that this city have started that haven't been completed. The Potter project,
the Imaginarium,
Walker. The one down on the lake, the monorail.
Oh,
I mean,
that was a joke, by the way.
They weren't really trying it.
This city is good at starting projects.
Yeah.
But they start them, and the danger, and I hope the people that listen to this show understand that the danger is that they're using your taxpayers' money. Mm-hmm. That's why you can't. Street lights are being cut off. That's why your building or your home is being assessed higher than other communities.
Alleys are in terrible shape. There's potholes in the roads.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you take it from here to put it over here, and you pay a service through your taxes for that service. And when you keep cutting that service, we get a community that looks the way it does. I don't see anybody talking anywhere that that's a priority, that we're going to go into the community and we're going to fix the roads and better the community services. Nobody talks like that.
Well, I tell you what, I know that there is a counterattack where some people will say, well, the reason that some of these things haven't happened is because the community doesn't get together behind it and pull together and really push these things forward. We had to abandon the arena project. Well, the arena project, I'm sorry, but that was on the heels of a lot of other projects that had already failed, and people were fed up with spending money on things that were going nowhere, and that's why that went down the tubes. And Machinery Row, now, I mean, that was lurking in the background all the while that arena project was being pushed, and people were wondering, what the heck is going on? This Machinery Row thing just evaporated, and now they want to invest millions more down in this skating rink down by the lake.
That's how desperate it got, though. They had to create criminal activity to get Machinery to move forward. I mean, that's how bad it got with these developments. I mean, this is where we're at. And when Monte calls about an economic engine, that's not an economic engine building Machinery Row or the arena, or I don't know what the hell they're building now. But what it is those 39 jobs that should have been down in that thing working and getting a paycheck every Friday, or
on a Jensen Metal,
that 39 jobs would have went up in that downtown and been spending that money and would have lived there. That's what you need. That's an economic engine,
I reflect upon, and I think you might know about it, Spotty, is the fact that how businesses was closed downtown to create the Potter project. And then you look up, the Potter project is a failure, and you closed up other business.
Well,
you see what I'm saying?
We got the net effect is negative.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, let's just take one more step. But the Metro train that was coming in, they built this. We can talk about that too at some other later date. We're going to talk about that one. But the fact is, they put this rail in unit train station in, and then that Maldonado property was there. Well, they took that Maldonado property because that was a great property to buy, because this was going to expand. It was going to be great. Now you got an empty building. You had a lawsuit because of it, and you have no economic movement whatsoever in that area. And we could go one after the other. Go ahead.
Can I add to that?
Yeah,
sure.
A group out of Milwaukee wanted to do what they call the Corrine Owen project on that piece of land next to the transit center. They would not allow them to do it because they was going to have KRM, and it was going to have business people living in that area, etc. And they
you know how
absolutely nothing.
So they turned some business developers aside.
They had their own money,
in favor of speculation.
That's it.
And look what they got. And they've done this over and over and over again. And
we just want you guys to stop doing this stuff.
Yeah, really, it needs to stop.
And allow the people that actually do have viable business plans to develop them. You know, even if they're small, it doesn't matter.
No, small is good.
Yeah,
Small is
things.
good. Let
Small
it build.
things grow.
Because I'm a politician, I'm explaining also that it's important the people that you put in office, you know, and how they think and what their vision is compared to the people that have made these mistakes that you talked about.
Yeah, that's true. And there's elections coming up
I got my plug in.
in April. So start paying attention, because there's candidates out there.
You know, and we go back to this this whole Machinery Row and Monte Osterman and the River Bluff. And one of the things that's interesting is the Knowles Nelson grant, which is issued by the DNR. And we went through that on episode 53.
Mosquito in here.
Anyway, so we went back on 53, and they basically got the Knowles Nelson grant fraudulently, bought that property, and they can dance around all they want, but they ended up getting that money to pay taxes and some of the liens on that property. But the one earlier is to get the Knowles Nelson grant for the River Bluff, you know, which again, it's and to buy out a supervisor that had put himself in there for this Knowles Nelson grant.
Yeah.
I'm thinking if Grant or Knowles and Nelson, the two governors, knew what was going on, they'd be like, "Wow, how is this
They're
happening?"
rolling over in their graves.
Oh my God. Only Racine.
Well, I think it's time to move on to the little closing thing that we've sort of established here lately, and that's the promotion of local businesses, and this is advertising free. I mean, we don't charge for any advertising. We don't go out and ask people if they'd like to be on the show or anything like that. The only way you can get to be a featured business is to sell good products at a fair price and treat people good. And so you've got somebody that you'd like to mention this week, right?
It's left my mind. Go ahead.
It slipped,
Help me out here. I forgot who it
slipped
was.
your mind? Well, mine didn't slip mine.
All right.
Has yours slipped yours yet?
No.
Well, you go first. I'll.
Okay, Mads is because the 15th is the celebration of Martin Luther King birthday. We are having and that's on tomorrow.
Well, we're broadcasting Monday morning, so it's later today.
Oh, okay.
It confuses me.
For
too.
those of you that might look at this this show early enough, it's at 11 o'clock, and it's called the placing of the wreath, and we do it every year, and it's Miller's Flowers. They donated the wreath that we're going to be placing at the statue, Dr. Martin Luther King statue, and they are located at 619 6th Street, and we want to thank them for the donation, and we hope you attend the event.
And they've been around a long time. They're a well-respected
Good
business.
family, good family.
Yeah. You ready yet? No?
No, help me out. I can't remember. I cannot remember. I get so buried in this stuff, I sometimes can't get out.
Oh, God, we talked about it before the show, and I can't remember what you came up with. But mine is Layman's Bakery over on Spring and Green Bay Road. Now, we go over there for lunch quite a bit. They got great soup, really good sandwiches, good pastry, and, well, maybe you want to stay away from there, because I put on some pounds since we've been, eating those desserts.
Yeah.
But they're good people over there. We enjoy our lunches over there at Layman's Bakery, and they've been around a long time too. In fact, I think that Layman's was the first bakery to go national with retailing Kringles.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I do remember something like that.
I think they were the ones that got
Yeah.
in the Neiman Marcus catalog.
Was it? Was it?
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know.
But they've been around a long time.
Yeah.
We got a lot of good bakeries, but we're highlighting Layman's today at 31 and Spring Street. So,
Well, I had a list, and I can't remember one of them, but I do remember.
do you remember what?
Yeah. We talked about it, I can't remember. Well, one of them is Digon's Auto Repair. I actually have known those guys for years. They're on Barker Street, truck and auto repair. I mean, masters at putting stuff back together. I've done construction a lot of years. And
Well, they've had a race team, haven't they?
oh, they race. They're
Yeah.
crazy. I mean, I know those guys for years. And they're good guys. And the crew, Mike and Dave, Paul, good people. And hardworking and fun. So I just want to, hey, guys.
Well, there you go. 3 more businesses that we recommend that you get out there and patronize when you have a need for their services or their products. So thanks for being here, and we'll see you again next week. Have a good day. Enjoy Martin Luther King's holiday here today.